Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and we've put the 100 milestone behind us now. It's time to move forward and look to the future. So we're moving on to episode 101, and we don't have any world-famous pop stars on today, but we do have world-famous Star Wars podcasters on, so that's almost as good. From Blue Harvest, it's our good buddy, Hawes Burkhardt. How you going, man?
How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good.
I kind of resent that statement because here's a little thing you might not have known about me. Do you know the Eve 6 joint, wanna put my blender, heart in a blender, watch it move around to a beautiful oblivion? You know that song?
I think I do, actually, yeah.
I co-wrote that.
What, really?
Yeah, in college, I co-wrote that.
Oh, what? You still living off those sweet, sweet royalties?
Yeah, I get about 32 cents every couple of months from that one. I'm just kidding. I didn't have anything to do with it.
I would have just believed it. I've been like, yeah, sure, no problem.
I should have just let it go.
I would have just been like, take that, Darren Hayes. Like, what do you got? You know, we could have got a collab going. We could have got these like, oh well, you know, I could have write some songs and we could get something happening here. Get it in the mix. We're obviously just talking offline, you know, how lockdown life and all that kind of stuff, but just as a general little stamp point was got on wax. How's lockdown life going for you?
It's weird. It's odd. I'm still not quite used to it. It seems like sort of at the beginning of next week, I'm going to sort of be easing back into a work schedule that I'm a little more used to. Mm-hmm. I haven't stepped foot out of my house in over a month.
Wow. I
haven't driven my car in over a month. It's odd. I forgot that today was Tuesday until I started trying to message you on Twitter.
And then Twitter went down and you were like, oh my God, it's starting.
Yep.
The revolution has started. Twitter was the first to go.
And of course, I'm worried about doing a podcast while this is all going down.
Yeah.
End of the world's happening. Twitter's down. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I got podcast commitments.
Now, you spoke about this on your podcast. We'll very, very, very briefly. But you did have a SWAT team turn up at your house the other day. So anything is possible now.
Yeah. SWAT teams and tornadoes. That's been the theme of my quarantine so far.
Wow. You know what? It's exciting, if nonetheless. You know, you just at least you're getting a little bit of something. You know, like if you've been inside for a month, you'd like, hey, I just take a bit of rain or a bit of sunshine, or maybe some speeding cars out the front. But let's just turn everything up to 11.
Yeah, it was like I was living in Grand Theft Auto for a little while.
So how's your Star Wars life going? It's things were up, things are down, things are happening. Like we're getting stuff.
Yeah, kind of surprisingly so, right? I was expecting it to be a little more quiet around this time. But yeah, there's little bits and pieces of information coming out sort of on a weekly basis. Yeah,
they're just sort of drip feeding things. I guess they're like, we got your attention. Like, where else are you going?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because this has effectively shut down Hollywood news, it seems like. Like, I can't remember the last big bit of news I heard since this all happened. With all the productions being shut down, then you have to imagine it's shutting down stuff in pre-production and everything's getting moved around. But somehow Star Wars finds a way, and there's little bits of information coming out here and there. They
kind of just landed it at the right second, didn't they? Like, they kind of just dropped that Rise of Skywalker just at the right time. If it had been a year later, obviously, or things had gone up earlier, it would have been a whole monkey wrench in the operation.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even consider the fact that, let's say they gave JJ and the crew a little more time to work on it, and we're planning on putting it out in December this year. Man, it could be in jeopardy at this point, I guess. I didn't even really consider that.
It's funny to see, like, it's just in the case of that, like, if this had all gone down, 5 months earlier, say, August last year, September last year.
Yeah.
And like Rise of Skywalker notoriously like rushed process, get it out. Whether they just go, you reckon they would just put it in the can? Or do you think the temptation to be like, hey, this movie ain't coming out for 8 months. Let's have a little tinker.
Oh, knowing JJ, like he sort of famously, when Harrison Ford broke his ankle on The Force Awakens, he used that time to tinker with The Force Awakens. So I can't imagine that he wouldn't do the same thing in that circumstance.
It'd just be really funny if you it finally comes out, like, oh, everybody can come out and see, Rise of Skywalker again, and JJ's been doing reshoots, and he's been tinkering with this thing. You sit in the cinema, and there's just these shots like shot at Daisy Ridley's house on her phone, and she's just holding her phone up to. What are you talking about? It's like in her bedroom, and yeah.
So I was actually, now that you brought that up, I was reading. I guess it's an Australian soap opera that is getting back to production.
Oh, Neighbours, yeah.
Yeah, and they're trying to think of creative ways to like minimize the crew and shoot around so that, it still looks as natural as possible, but they're able to keep up with social distancing and take all the necessary precautions.
Yeah, they're using
That's pretty interesting.
Wacky angles and stuff to look like that someone's standing closer to the person. And,
yeah,
it's like that Hobbit technology, where they put someone further away. But
I wonder if we're going to see things, because I imagine there's going to be several productions that have to take that approach.
Yeah,
for a little while, and I wonder if it's going to be one of those situations where, knowing what went on behind the scenes, you'll be able to watch it and tell. Kind of like with Carrie Fisher and the Rise of Skywalker.
Well, Neighbours is a notoriously cheap soap opera. It's been going for 30 years or something. But the joke was always in Neighbours, if a character got into an uncharacteristically cheap car, something bad was going to happen. There was a really famous episode where there was a wedding, and the wedding car didn't turn up, and it said, oh, don't worry, like, we've gotten this car from someone's coming through and brought this old car that they've got, and then that car like drove off a cliff, and
that's
so like
funny.
Never get into a cheap car in Neighbours, because it means they're going to write you out. I was just thinking about, because they just dropped all this May the 4th stuff. They're like, May the 4th, like Clone Wars, we're dropping the Mandalorian documentary, which is going to be huge, and they're dropping Rise of Skywalker as well on the streaming. Do you reckon they've just written off Rise of Skywalker now? Like, do you reckon Rise of Skywalker for Lucasfilm is a write-off? They're just like, it's out. Like, there's no more toys, there's no more merch. It's out on streaming already. It just feels like they're kind of like, well, that's that. Like,
so I'm kind of two minds about it. Like, it coming out on May the 4th is so conveniently placed. I wonder if that was the plan all along, because they've got to keep people interested in Disney Plus during the sort of lulls, right? Like, because we had The Mandalorian for 8 weeks, and then past that, I didn't launch Disney Plus until the Clone Wars started up.
You obviously don't have a 4-year-old, mate.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We were watching a lot of what was it? Something the First, Sabrina the First, and Disney Mickey's something races, and oh man, like we were getting our $8 a month out of it.
Yeah, I imagine so. So I don't know. To me, the weirdest thing about Rise of Skywalker is the merchandise situation, because since The Force Awakens came back and there was a lot of new Star Wars stuff to collect, I've been trying to go through and sort of collect the 3 3/4 inch, smaller scale figures for the movies, and get like whatever's available. And for The Force Awakens, there's a ton. I don't know if you've ever looked at the complete list, but
No, I've got a couple just that I got on clearance and stuff. I've got like a
Chapman's cheapies.
Yeah, exactly. But I was never going like I'm going to get the whole list. I got like a Rey and a Kylo and maybe like an Admiral Akbar or something.
And then it's just weird. They shrank and shrank and shrank and got smaller and smaller to where when the Rise of Skywalker came out, like I've got a Rey and a Zori Bliss and a Knight of Ren. I think that's about it as far as new characters go. Maybe like a Sith Trooper. I guess it's kind of embarrassing that I can't remember how many Star Wars toys I have. But yeah, that's to me. And they did comparatively no vehicles, which is another thing I'm a big fan of. It's just odd.
Yeah. Whether they've been burnt, they've got burnt and committed too much and just thought, all right, we're just gonna put a line on this and tread a little bit more cautiously. I mean, there's a whole bunch of debate about like who buys toys and who toys are for and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But
and I also wonder because maybe, and this is something we'll know, I would say maybe over the next year or so, if it's the case. But I do kind of wonder, with there being a 3-year break, supposedly, between Star Wars theatrical releases, if they're taking a more measured approach and releasing things slower. Because now they've got 3 years with no theatrical movie where they can go in and fill in those holes. So maybe we'll see some of those things come out because, if this was if this was 1999, we would have had deluxe Knights of Ren play sets and all kinds of stuff. But there's nothing to be found. Although they do have that thing coming out Friday, that Hasbro fan event they're doing.
Oh, really?
Be interested to see what
they churn out.
They're doing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be new stuff. I think it is that they're showing off.
Oh, I got the Empire 40th anniversary stuff's finally made its way down here. So I had to go to the supermarket and the shopping center, and I went down and there's like a store called Zing, which is basically it's like GameStop. It's like the pop culture arm of the Australian version of GameStop. So they had like the rack, they had the figures and stuff, but I just wanted the look. I didn't want anything else, and had to pay a little bit more for it than I would in some other places, but I thought I'll just get it. So some stuff's trickling down, but it's maybe they retail's pretty dead. Maybe they knew something we didn't. They're just like, hey, no one's going to be buying anything for 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know. So I was considering ordering both waves of the Black Series 40th anniversary figures because I'm pretty much out of the Black Series game except for special figures here and there, like that new Boba Fett they have coming out this summer. But those vintage carded looking figures are hard for me to pass up. Yeah,
I got them. That's sort of I get the occasional Black Series, but even then I dabble. I'll get ones I really want. But I got the retro Star Wars ones, and I'll get the retro Empire ones because they just look cool, even though they got that big freaking sticker on them. If you just
I'm talking about the Luke you got the 40th anniversary. Yep. That's what I'm talking about. Those retros are cool though.
Yeah.
But then the lockdown happened, and I wasn't exactly super comfortable dropping like $300 or $400 to pre-order the waves.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Something tells me they might be a little easier to get a hold of this time because of all this. So I'm not fretting about it too much.
The day that the lockdown's over and the nerds peek out, and then it's just like a rush. They're getting down there to find out what they can get.
It's going to be like Force Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's just queuing up a little bit. Yeah, well, we've got just talking about like Clone Wars is ending in a week and a bit, and then this Mando doc is going to tide us over for 2 months. So that's going to take us to. What are we, May, June, July? So, and when's Mando's due in September?
October.
Okay, so there's still that little gap there, isn't there? That they must have something up their sleeves. I don't know.
It seems like besides the small gap in between the end of Mando season 1 and Clone Wars, it seems like they are trying to stack this stuff up. I just wonder what it could be. Like there's the rumors of a follow-up series to Rebels coming at some point. Maybe that could be it, although that would be awfully surprising if that's going to kick off in like July or something.
Well, if you don't have a celebration to, it's kind of funny like talking on celebration. It's pretty much been all assumed that it's not going to happen this year at least. Probably pushed back to next year or whatever it'll be. Like there was such a, what are they going to talk about apart from Mandalorian and 40th Empire? Like they might have had a whole bunch of stuff in the can that they've gone, that kind of really throws a monkey wrench in our operation, because talking High Republic, and they'd have to say something about this new movie because movies take 2 to 3 years to make, even though there's a gap. Like the gap will seem shorter now because we just have to write off most of this year. All of a sudden we'll get to the end of the year and go, hey, it's 2 years until there's a new Star Wars. Yeah. We all hibernated for a year.
There's a lot of interesting aspects about Celebration that I wonder, what happens, because you think Hasbro says for, like, okay, if you go into your store and you see that Luke figure on the shelf, that thing started production 18 months before.
Yep.
That's how long it takes them for sculpting, manufacturing, painting, packaging, and then shipping it to store shelves. So that means somewhere there's a warehouse full of Hasbro exclusives for Celebration, Funko exclusives for Celebration, exclusive pins, clothing items.
Oh,
and
like Anaheim 2020 written on it.
Yeah.
But
yeah. What happens to all that?
It's like the Olympics, like they were saying that, because they're moving the Olympics back next year, and they've already said that, everything's just going to say 2020 on it. Like, we're not going to reprint all the T-shirts. We're not going to, change the merch. We're not going to, it's just going to be what it is. It's still the 2020 Olympics. Like,
yeah,
Celebration
sort of for Star Wars.
Yeah, Celebration's kind of arbitrary. It's kind of on when it's on. It doesn't hit that date every year. It's not like Comic-Con where it's like every year it's on that time. So they're kind of like, hey, we move it to April next year or August next year or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just those announcements change. It's what have they got under there? What are they? They're planning something. They wouldn't have bothered if they didn't think that they had something.
Yeah, and you also got to think by that point, Cassian would have been 2 months into filming or so.
Yep.
So there would have assuredly been some sort of information on Cassian. I don't know that we would have gotten a trailer, but I wonder if we would have gotten that first sort of iconic screenshot or picture.
Yeah,
from
I mean,
the
like
show,
a logo
like,
or something, or
Yeah, like,
or even
remember,
a name. Like, it's probably not even called Cassian. If it's just been called Rogue Agent or something, or whatever they're going to call it. Actually, it's a pretty good name. Actually, I should copyright that.
Yeah, you should.
I should put that on a T-shirt. Oh, shit! But hey, well, let me just make a note.
Go ahead and buy the
domain
just in case. But yeah, like that. You have to imagine we would have seen something regarding Cassian, Mando season 2, Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary, whatever the next animated thing is, because there's, whether it's a sequel to Rebels or not, there's another animated Star Wars something coming.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it might get announced on May the 4th.
Well, animated is, a little bit more of a, you can kind of technically do that from home. You don't necessarily need to, and the thing is, I think when I can't remember who was on when I was talking, maybe it was King Tom. Animation stuff's a lot easier to keep under wraps because you can do it all in-house. There's less chance of leaking. You don't have to book actors and locations and sets and blah, blah, blah. It can all, it could be
cameramen.
Camera. Like, just Dave Filoni is just, tapping away on his keyboard somewhere and...
And the thing is, those animated projects have such a long lead time. Like, I can't remember. I think it was while season 1 of Rebels was airing, they were posting pictures from the wrap party of season 2. So, like, for, like, the voice actors and stuff.
Yep.
So they, that was over a year before that was going to air. So if there's an animated series coming this fall-ish, it's done, essentially, at this point.
They've sort of like... If there has to be a worldwide stop on stuff, Star Wars has somehow managed to stumble right into this perfect zone of, hey, we got our big movie out. We were having a break anyway. We've kind of fallen ass backwards. I know the park stuff obviously hurts them, but that's more of a Disney thing than a Star Wars thing. But they might be one of the few things to basically go, hey, it's not really going to affect our release schedule too much.
Yeah, because Mando season 2 was done filming.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of post-production effects and stuff to do.
But you can do that at home,
Exactly. Now, what we do need to wonder about, I would say, is that start date for Cassian. Will it really be able to kick off in June? I don't know. Maybe. And they're officially announcing cast members and stuff, so...
Something's happening.
To me, it's happening. They're still planning on something. So
see how Neighbours goes. They'll get Neighbours to consult and just go, hey, this is what worked for us, and we'll put Cassian Andor in a cheap car and drive him off a cliff.
Oh, don't do that to Catherine.
Oh, Catherine, no, sorry, Catherine, no.
I can't watch him die again. No,
it doesn't make sense. He should be alive.
Yeah.
It's his twin brother all along. We should just touch on before we were sort of chatting about sort of setting this up. You actually gave me some homework because I have fallen into a Metallica hole.
Oh, I was excited to see that.
I've never been a Metallica kid or a Metallica guy, and they've been around. I knew the hits and stuff, but
Right.
and then I kind of stumbled on sort of their YouTube channel for whatever reason, and just sort of started watching clips and stuff, and I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of understanding the band, and and I always like guitar music and stuff, so like, they love a bit of guitar, and you were just like, dude, Ride the Lightning.
That's my favorite.
You got to listen to Ride the Lightning. So I've been listening to Ride the Lightning, and oh man, blew my ears off. I was just I really really enjoyed it, and I just started like thinking about like what's a Metallica like Star Wars? Like I know you guys did the Kiri Mundi. You had the artwork, didn't you? The Ride the Lightning artwork,
Right.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of like taking that like that iconic logo, like the Metallica logo, like what Star Wars spin could you kind of do on that? And I was like, you got to think of something Star Wars that starts with M and ends in A, which is around the same size that would work. Because I'm like Millennium Falcon, that kind of works. It's a similar shape.
Right.
But then we were talking about Rogue One, Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma. Hey, that kind of works.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a gap, but I think you could do it close. You could have a Metallica logo, Mon Mothma,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking not a bad T-shirt idea there. Might be, at least for the cover art. Rogue One's coming. Genevieve, what's her name's coming back.
Yep. I was excited to see that.
So maybe that's the tie-in. Maybe Celebration 2021. The
Hey.
Mon Mothma T-shirt will come out.
Man, how lucky must she feel? Because, she was originally cast as Mon Mothma for Revenge of the Sith, and her scenes were cut.
Bizarre scenes, too. Have you ever watched those?
Yeah, they are weird.
Because there's a lot of Australian accents going on in those scenes as well. Which really, you know what? It's very. I mean, it must be jarring for people from other countries, but an Australian just go like, "Oh, there's some thick accent work going on there."
Yeah, and then so her scenes get cut. They're on the DVD, right? The Blu-ray, and then years later, they're like, "Hey, we're doing this movie Rogue One. Do you want to play that character again that you never officially played?" Necessarily, man, that is quite the call to get. Now she's coming back again for Cassian,
and then like
that's pretty cool.
Kind of perfectly rolled into eight. Like she aged almost perfectly as well from the role. Like the time of the gap is almost perfect to how old she was. And I think when we did a Rogue One commentary, when I had Catherine and Andy on, we were talking about the original Mon Mothma. I think she's still alive, actually.
I think she is too. I vaguely remember someone posting a picture, like a modern picture of her, maybe sort of in the lead up to The Force Awakens, being like, they should get her to come back as Mon Mothma. She would look awesome. So yeah, I think she's still around.
I don't know what happened to her in the new canon. Is the character still around?
So I don't know if they've definitively said.
Need King Tom.
This might be I was about to say this is a King Tom question, but I do remember in that book Bloodline, the Princess Leia book.
Yep.
They mentioned that she was like sick.
Okay.
I think she's still alive, but they mentioned that she's been like really ill. But I don't know that they expanded on that afterwards.
Okay. All right. Well, still good enough to put on a T-shirt. I reckon that'll work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll work on that one. So you're a big Mando man. You love your Boba Fett.
I am.
It's no secret. You feel like you're in the golden age. You feel like you're in the golden age of your favorite thing without having your favorite thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
it's kind of weird, right?
It's like everything but the one thing that kind of started it.
Yeah, but it's hard to complain on the same hand. Like, it would be like if I was like, man, I really like black Adidas hoodies, right? And then somebody gave me every color Adidas hoodie but black. Like, what am I going to do? Complain about that? Nah, man. I just got a bunch of free hoodies.
It's like, I guess I can wear green. I can work with that.
Yeah. I'll vary up my my color palette a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's in some ways like with the Mandalorian, the show. It seems like they were like everybody like sort of the look of that armor is so iconic as Star Wars, and the general person might not see that and go, "Oh, that's Boba Fett," but they know that's a guy from Star Wars.
Yeah,
his name isn't necessarily as out there as a Darth Vader or a Stormtrooper, right? And it seems like they were like, well, we want to do something with that, but we don't want to use Boba Fett.
Yeah, we don't want to be tied into the things that he's already done or is going to do, and and also we kind of, I feel like they're just holding their powder on that, aren't they? They're just like until we absolutely know exactly what we're doing. We're alluding, we're talking about the rattling spurs and all that kind of stuff as well. It feels like they're just working themselves slowly towards that big reveal.
Yeah, and to me, the sort of lack of Boba Fett in the ancillary material is kind of suspicious as well, if that makes sense. Like, just now, like recently, we're getting Marvel comics that sort of heavily feature him in that. It's an ongoing series called Bounty Hunters.
Yep.
And he's just, one of sort of an ensemble cast. But, when they started the new run of Marvel Comics and started doing the little 4-shot miniseries, like with Princess Leia and Chewbacca and Lando and everything, I was like, man, it's only a matter of time before we get a Boba Fett 4-shot. Nope, never happened. They did like a one-shot comic during like the Age of Rebellion stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and no real presence in the books.
But even like Solo, I went into Solo going, there's no way that we won't see Boba Fett in this movie. Like he's absolutely that and Jabba the Hutt, to be honest, as well. Like I know that's going to be the big reveal. Like that's going to be the even if it's the sting at the end. The game is on kind of sting, like the end of the Super Mario Brothers movie where the girlfriend comes back and she's like, you guys are going to come back with me. You're never going to believe what's happened. One of those. For some reason, that always sticks in my head. I don't know why.
I was like, what a weird example to pull from. I like it.
It's always just that, like, how we just launched the next thing. You're never going to believe what's going to happen next. But
I was, and that Solo especially was where I sort of had to just give up any expectations with Boba Fett because much like you, I was like, now's his time. Obviously, he's not a main character or he'd be in the marketing, but there's going to be a cameo or something setting up the sequel, right? And,
right.
And it only made it worse because Jesse, Will, and I flew to California to go to like the premiere with everybody.
Oh,
Solo,
yep.
Like the opening night premiere, not like the get dressed
the red
fancy
carpet
premiere. Yeah, not that.
Yeah.
Or in my case, the red ramp. But so we go and we're driving around California with my buddy Aaron, and we get out to go check out a comic book store or something. And I'm sitting on the side of the road looking at my phone, and I have 80 notifications on Twitter.
Ugh.
And I'm like, oh, what is going on? This is the day Solo came out, right?
Yep.
So I start scrolling, and it's everybody just tagging me. James Mangold to direct Boba Fett movie. James Mangold hired to direct Boba Fett movie. Over and over again. So that just increased my suspicions. I was like, oh, this comes out today? Of course. He's in there in a cameo. And I had this whole thing where I was like, so Solo's going to set up for the Boba Fett movie, and he's going to be in there as Solo, and it's just going to go on and on. Nothing ever came of that.
Nothing happened. You got some rattling spurs. No. Is it dead? Is the Solo cinematic universe dead? Do you really think? Do you think it's?
I never want to say never, right? Because stranger things have happened. I would have told you that Clone Wars was done.
Yeah,
but it had its time and it wouldn't be coming back. As much as I would have loved to see the stuff we're seeing now, and it came back. I just don't think, especially like a Solo Part 2 movie will happen. And I think it's going to be one of those things that has to go a while before Disney is comfortable approaching that again. Because, you're talking about, you're talking the first Star Wars flop in history. That's got to hurt a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So I would love to see that story continued, like on Disney Plus or something, but I don't know how likely it is. But it's, on the other hand, it's also kind of weird because there's been so many little things that kind of tie into it. Like even in Clone Wars, right? We're seeing
like Dryden Voss turned up in.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I didn't want to give it away if you hadn't seen it.
No, I saw it.
Yeah, Dryden Voss and Maul is dropping the Crimson Dawn by name and things like that. So it's not like they're shying away from referencing it necessarily.
They might just have to. I mean, it was obviously they were going to be like, we're going to start putting a Solo movie out every, if Solo had done, Rogue One business, it would probably be Solo would have been out. Hang on, what year was end of this year? It would probably have been one this year.
Yeah, it would have probably been our
winter movie,
2020 movie.
Your summer, our summer, your winter. Yeah,
and I fully believe they planned on that being a trilogy at minimum. Because they leave so much open in that movie. It's clear that they were planning on continuing that story.
I kind of feel like that the audience is still there. Like it's just I think there's enough. I think there's enough juice if you did it. If you announced it, maybe, like you said, Disney Plus is a lot easier to get away with, and maybe you, like you said, you spread it out a little bit. You don't put all the focus just on Solo. You call it the Hutt Gambit or whatever you got to do. You drop some other name recognition in there and get some juice going. But yeah, I think it'll all just depend on how, if this new High Republic stuff takes off and people love it and that can project stuff forward. And I mean, who knows what. I've kind of forgot about Rian Johnson. Everybody was kind of like, they're going to drop the Rian Johnson stuff. And, like you said, Hollywood news has just stopped. And it's just like, what's Rian Johnson up to? Is he in lockdown?
Writing Star Wars.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I mean, that's the Star Wars that I'm most interested in seeing theatrically of things that have been tossed around and talked about is whatever he planned for Star Wars next. Because I don't know that they just told him, hey, we want you to do Star Wars, do whatever you want. Like, something tells me he had some sort of, like, germ of an idea that he pitched
didn't he sort of say that I was like, when I kind of did Last Jedi, this sort of occurred to me, and I went and said, hey, this would be a good idea.
Yeah, and so I just hope that he's still in the cards to work on Star Wars. Like, everything that went online with that dude, but you can't deny that he did The Last Jedi. It made a lot of money. If people hated it as much as they want you to believe they hated it, I don't think it makes 1.6, 1.7 billion or whatever it made,
No.
It's the second highest grossing Star Wars movie after The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Of the new ones, right? And then he goes and does Knives Out, which gets Oscar nominated and stuff. Like, come on. I think you would be, like, chomping at the bit to work with that guy again.
Yeah, like, you got to be careful. He might just be like, you know what? I'm
too good for Star Wars.
Yeah, I'll do something else. I don't need the freaking, It's probably, again, that sort of the lockdown silver lining. Like, maybe they're just giving all these people a bunch of homework and like, hey, look, nothing's going on, but go home, give us your best ideas and churn some stuff out. And, when we want to go and when we are allowed outside again, we're just going to crank the machine and start getting some stuff happening because we're going to have to make money. Like, Disney's bleeding money as well. Like, we need some sure bets. We need some hits, man. We need to get bums on seats.
I don't know if it's accurate, but I read a week or two ago that they estimate they're losing $30 million a day because of this. Whoa, $30 million a day. Yeah, and I've seen some people sort of like not uncomfortable, but like a little worried. Like, man, with all the reshuffling of the Marvel stuff, like maybe Disney ends up putting Star Wars to the side. And I think it's the opposite. Like, I think once this is done, they're trying to leverage the potential of everything they've got to make all this money back. You know?
Oh, absolutely. They've just like, we got a big, hole in our bottom line here, and what sells? It's Star Wars sells, man. Like the Disney Plus, again, it's sort of, at least they've got that little bit of revenue sort of coming in on a monthly basis they can rely on. If they hadn't had that, they'd have no parks open, they'd have nobody in the movies. It's just like,
and then what do you got? Digital purchases, which I haven't read any stats on, but I'm sure they're up a little bit with everybody staying home. Digital rentals and purchases. But yeah, maybe this is will work out in my benefit, that they'll be like, people seem to like that Boba Fett guy. Bet you we can make a couple of bucks with him somehow.
I heard Hawes, he likes it. Let's keep Hawes.
Yeah.
What's Hawes want? He's got a Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah, I do.
He was a bit quiet in January, but we got him back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll watch some animated X-Men and Spider-Man in January, but I wasn't as sucked into Disney Plus as I was those first couple of months.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mando 2, I mean, they sort of managed to land that, get that going. Like, what do you sort of sit there and speculate, get some cockadoodle speculatey going on, or as you would like to say, or do you like to like just take me on a journey? Like, it's such a, like, as leading up, like, I think we might have even talked about it, just like, we don't know what this thing is and what's going to happen, and but especially like Baby Yoda, like nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, I thought about and speculated about The Mandalorian so much leading into it, and I was missing the main ingredient, Baby Yoda, right? Which I could have never have guessed was even an element of it, much less such a focus. So with that sort of curveball they threw me, it's making it really hard to speculate about season 2. I mean, besides stuff that seems kind of obvious, that we're going to see Moff Gideon using that Darksaber at some point, right? Like, yeah. I think that's a given. I think it's a given that we see, the Mando reunite with Cara Dune and Grief, because we know they were filming for season 2, But past that, I don't know, man. It's hard to pin that one down. Well, they got to
I guess they're sort of almost like a victim of their own success now. Like, Baby Yoda is so big. It's it was a pop culture. It probably was the pop culture, close to the pop culture moment of last year, and freaking Endgame came out last year. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's so much stuff happened last year, and so little has happened this year. I feel like everything was just in the past. I'm like, shit, Endgame came out last year, and then Baby Yoda came after that, and then Rise of Skywalker, and all that kind of stuff. But he's so popular now. It's sort of, you got to find a way to keep him engaged in the story and interesting and stuff. You can't just have him luggage. You can't just be picking him up and putting him on the side, and like, something's got to happen with that Baby Yoda.
Oh, for sure. And then you got to wonder if they're gonna, like, because your typical sequel in the theatrical world always tries to up the stakes in some way, right?
Yeah.
So how do you up the stakes past Baby Yoda? I don't know. I mean,
especially when you've got a third series. Like, series stuff's always like, how much do you change it? Do you change do you do something like The Wire, where it's like a completely different thing, or is it just kind of more of the same, more wacky bounty hunting adventures, or do you kind of look back and go, oh man, Mandalorian season 1 was quite small compared, because they just like opened the whole galaxy up. It became a story of the galaxy rather than just like this dude on this mission. It's just,
see, that's kind of, if I had to guess, that's where the story goes. Is like the first season is so sort of focused. You know what I mean? And it's so like intent on establishing the vibe of this show and introducing the elements like Baby Yoda, the Mandalorian, his crew that he is, eventually assembles. But I kind of wonder if the only way you can go post season 1 is to just keep expanding further and further, like
a Westworld sort of thing.
Yeah,
like you think about where Westworld starts and where we're at
and
now.
And now where it, yeah. Like, and you got to wonder. Eventually, they got to tell us what's up with like the Mandalorians as a culture, like what is going on with them post Return of the Jedi and post Rebels, because sort of chronologically before the Mandalorian, the last thing we see about them is in Rebels, right?
Is there anything in the is there anything in the sequel supplementary material trilogy, or is there any mention? Is there, like, I don't think, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see, I know, like, I'm sure you would have mentioned if you'd seen a helmet in the background anywhere. There's like nothing. So the only thing that you could really even say is that there's some Mandalorian ships in the big final space battle in there's some
Rise of
flags
Skywalker.
in Maz Kanata's castle, isn't there?
Right. There's a Mythosaur skull flag in Maz Kanata's castle. So there's hints. But, you know, they kind of just threw every ship model they had in the computer at the screen in Rise of Skywalker. So I don't know that you can really point at that and go, oh, the Mandos are still around, you know?
Yeah. There could be a whole story behind that as well.
Yeah, so it would be really... I think that's how they expand it, is they tell us a little more what's going on with sort of Mandalorians as a culture and as a... I don't know, would you call them a race or a...
I don't know.
Creed? I don't know.
Well, that was kind of one of the themes, wasn't it? It's just like, hey, it's, you know, home is where the heart is kind of thing, wasn't it?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to say that all those Mandos we saw underground on Navarro or whatever that planet is called are the only ones that left.
Dave Navarro's planet, the planet of Dave Navarro. Yeah. Is like
the planet of lip liner and eyeliner,
nipple piercings, and
and one Red Hot Chili Peppers album. Yeah, just one.
The best one, if you ask Chris Fresh. But
oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's his. I'm sure he said that's his favorite one. I don't mind that record. I think it's good. There's a track on that. "Shall I Be Thy Name." That's a face.
That's
melter.
A good song.
That's a face. One.
The first single that they put out from that album, I like, and I can't remember the name of it.
Warped.
Yes, yeah. I like that song.
Nice. I just like a pivot to the planet of the Dave Navarros.
Oh man, that's the next Disney Plus series. It'll be insufferable. But yeah, I don't know where they go from there.
Yeah, where do they? I mean, I'm one of those. I feel like that there's plans. Like, a lot of people go like, oh, there's no plan. They're flying by the seat of their pants. They don't know what's... I feel like there's walls and walls of stuff down there at Lucasfilm with, like, you know, years of projections and things. And some, you know, like you said, sometimes, the Solo, thing had to be taken off the wall at one stage.
Right.
Because it hit the big speed bump. But to sort of suggest that there's no plan, they're flying by the seat of their pants, they don't know what they're doing. I think that's crazy.
I think
that's yelling in your car, in your phone kind of territory.
Yeah, I mean, so here, I have a question for you. Did you see the supposed leaked episode titles for season 2 of The Mandalorian?
No, but I'm happy to be told what they were. I don't,
Okay. Let me see if I can find them. And I'll say this, I don't know. I have no idea if these are correct or anything.
Is one of them The Shithead Returns?
No, man. I think you would have known if that was the case.
Yeah. Little number one fan would have been all over his socials on that one.
But supposedly the person on Twitter that leaked them has correctly leaked stuff in the past as far as the Marvel side of things go.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a track record there.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't follow the Marvel stuff close enough. I enjoy it, but I don't follow it close enough to know whether it's... So I'm just saying all this because I don't want to say this on your show and then people...
No. If anybody want to block your ears, block your ears, but we're gonna do some cockadoodle speculation while we've got Hawes.
Yeah. So there's 8 episodes, just like last season, and the first episode is called The Search. Okay. So we have to imagine that is the search for Baby Yoda's people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again,
Chapter 2.
I could have told you it was that.
Confrontation. Yeah.
Again, if I was making them up, that would be the first one I'd probably make. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, most of these would be really easy to make up.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are kind of spicy, though.
Okay, so confrontation.
So Chapter 2. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that's Moff Gideon again. Mm-hmm. Chapter 3, The Bounty.
Okay.
Chapter 4, The Republic.
Interesting. Juicy.
Chapter 5, The Loyalist. Mm-hmm. And these are where I think it gets spicy. Chapter 6, The Sorcerer. That sounds cool.
That's cool. That is cool.
Chapter 7, The Return. Boba Fett. Chapter 8.
I thought Return of the Jedi, but that's just me.
Oh. And then Chapter 8, The Empire.
Nice. Well, when we did the Mandos screening down here in Australia. Matt and Sean from Blue Bantha Milk put together a little cinema in the back of a bar that we watched the first 2 episodes on, and we did a live reaction stuff. And nobody had seen the Baby Yoda stuff, and my first sort of impression was, you start throwing Yodas in there, like, is it out of the question that Luke Skywalker makes an appearance, or is at least talked about? Like, if you're gonna throw in the Force, you go to the. Is it possible you get a de-aged? I mean, they've got the de-aging Mark Hamill model sitting on the Lucasfilm server somewhere.
Yeah. To me, I don't know how. To me, if I was making this show that's set 3 to 5 years after Return of the Jedi, whenever it is, they've been a little cagey about nailing that down for sure. But if I'm doing this show, and in the canon, Luke is out there looking for Force artifacts and looking up the history of the Jedi, I think that temptation would be too great to avoid using Luke Skywalker in some way, right?
Well, didn't Hamill put out some letter quite recently, like, thanks everybody for Star Wars, I've had a great time, it's been life-changing? But that wasn't like when Rise of Skywalker came out. That was like a month ago.
Well, no, that letter, you get that letter when you buy that big, crazy 4K Star Wars box set.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like some kind of like, all right. I thought it was like some kind of like, Hamill's officially done with Star Wars, don't stop me in the street anymore kind of thing.
Well, and this is the thing. As good as the de-aging stuff is in the Marvel movies and sort of in the Star Wars movies, I feel like they've done a better job with it in the Marvel movies. Except for Tarkin. I still think Tarkin is pretty incredible in Rogue One. Even with as good as that is, I'm almost at the point where I think if we get Luke Skywalker in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, there's 2 mostly realistic options, that unless it's a small cameo type thing.
Yep.
And that's either animated or recast.
Yeah. I think I'd rather have recast. Animated. I think a different Luke in the middle. Like, I'm happy to see 14-year-old
weird,
Luke.
right?
I'm happy to see 10-year-old Luke. Like, go nuts. I know they've talked about like the girl from Stranger Things being Leia, which is quite good, but I think she's the same age as Carrie Fisher now. So I'm kind of like, I don't need to see 19-year-old Carrie Fisher and Stranger Things girl. Like, you kind of missed your window. I think if it had been 14-year-old Leia in the background of Rogue One or whatever, or the Cassian show. Well, Cassian show.
Well, now hold on. Let's think about it here, because they announced this last week that the Cassian show is 5 years before Rogue One.
Okay. So that Leia would be 14, 15, 14, 15. All right, Stranger Things girl, if you can pull off 15, I will allow it.
I think that would be kind of neat. I hadn't considered that, but I think that there could be something cool there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. It would be weird to have someone cast in the middle. I just feel if we're going to see Luke in live action for any significant portion of time in that time area, it's going to be real weird if they do the de-aging for like a long stretch of time.
Yeah, unless he's just like, Mando shows up with Baby Yoda and Luke's at the end of a corridor and there's one cut to him smiling and then they, cut away.
Yeah.
Or, I can live with that, but there's some kind of long conversation going on and his face is sort of stretching and weird. His mouth's kind of, it's a bit Superman in Justice League kind of thing,
Now, okay, so you brought it up. We got to talk about it. If the Mando ends up dropping Baby Yoda off with Luke, that doesn't spell good things for Baby Yoda's future.
No,
because the Jedi and Luke's in Luke's academy don't have happy futures ahead of them.
He might be I don't know. I feel like he might be an exception to the rule, given that he's a baby Yoda, and he's younger. I feel like they could very conveniently do we put him in a rocket ship and send him away for, somewhere safe where no one knows where he is for 100 years, and in 100 years he'll come back, and there's a right around for that. I just given that he lives till he's 800, he's only 50. There'll be some sort of convenient Poochie. We put him in a rocket ship to go off with his people or something. And
now that I could see, but at that point,
the Ezra kind of,
take him off the table so he doesn't get killed or something. Yeah, I can totally see that. But then, how do you? Okay, so let's think about, because I'm sort of the mind that Baby Yoda is in the Mandalorian until the Mandalorian is over. Because he's so...
Oh, he is now, for sure. If he wasn't
popular.
Before, he is now, yeah.
Yeah. So, let's say The Mandalorian goes for 4 seasons, right? And the end of season 4 is them finally finding Luke, and they drop the Baby Yoda off with Luke, and it's this big touching goodbye. Oh, he's in safe hands now. The life of a bounty hunter is no life for a little Baby Yoda. Then how do we explain to the audience, well, he wasn't around when the crazy stuff went down with Kylo, right?
Yeah. Stay tuned for the next series.
Yeah, they would have to announce it the next day. Starting next year on Disney Plus, the Baby Yoda series. Yeah. He's back.
He's back. He's moved to a new city. He's got a fresh new sound. It's like a fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I was getting in some trouble with the Mandalorian, and I had to go away. You're moving to Luke's Jedi. That's how he became the king of the Jedi Academy. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, they've really sort of set themselves up for something that they could use in a neat way with sort of the lifespan of Yoda's species, right?
Yeah, you kind of your cake and eat it too now. You can have if you want to, because they're sort of talking about the Rise of Skywalker is sort of the full stop of the Star Wars timeline at the moment. Time has ended at the end of that Rey on Tatooine now. Although somebody said, might have been when I had Holly on, she said there was a comic or a book or something that's taking place after that. I'll have to double check if that's happening or not.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing because I believe it's Star Wars Adventures, which is the IDW comic book that they do.
Right.
That was going to tell stories. The press release made it seem like they were going to be telling stories post Rise of Skywalker. And then I heard somebody step back that statement, and I don't know if that's because it was incorrect or they let the cat out of the bag before they were supposed to. I'm not sure yet. And now with, the entire comic book industry sort of being at a standstill, it might be a little bit before we find out. But yeah, if you wanted to set a Star Wars movie 200 years after Rise of Skywalker, guess who's coming in, baby? Yeah. Teenage Baby Yoda.
It's really weird. I caught Guardians of the Galaxy on TV the other night. I was just flicking channels and Guardians of the Galaxy was on. And I was watching him going oh my God, Groot is so unsettling. Because I'm so unused to Groot. There's been Baby Groot and Teenage Groot. Groot, Alpha Groot is only in one movie. And it was just really oh my God, he's so big and bulbous and sort of yeah, it's really weird. So yeah, teenage Baby Yoda might be, a little bit weird too. He's sort of pimply and, got some braces, angry, greasy, horny.
Yeah, all of these things. It could lead to it could get real weird real quick.
Dude, we're almost close to wrapping up here. Thank you for taking the time out. 101, it's not quite 100, but it's a pleasure. I feel like it was about a year and a bit ago you were on last time. We were getting close to Celebration, talking haunted hotels and all that kind of stuff. And
oh, yeah.
Clearly you survived.
Yes. Barely. Dude.
You're that's the most scared I'll ever be in my life. There'll be nothing else that'll compare to that.
I mean, waking up in the middle of the night to find my fiance sleepwalking down the halls, which I've never experienced.
Hang on. Oh, yes.
That's pretty creepy.
Wow.
That's pretty creepy. I mean, I think the alcohol had more to do with it than the ghosts, but I'm going to blame it on the ghosts.
Yeah. Let's see where this goes. Let's scare the hell out of Hawes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone who knows you, they all know you. You know what you're about. But give a little plug for your wonderful podcast and your wonderful co-host, Will.
So I host Blue Harvest. We release every Friday or Saturday, depending on when I get the episode finished. And it's with my best friend, Will, who I've known for like 20 years now or something. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Were you guys college roommates? Is that what it was?
We were eventually, but we knew each other before he moved in as my roommate.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But we didn't really become like tight until he moved in. And you can find us on pretty much any pod service.
We just got this podcast added because I do the Peppa Pig podcast, and it's way more popular than the Star Wars one. And I got contacted by this company in India called GeoSav. I don't know, some big platform in India, and they wanted to put the Peppa Pig podcast in India. And I'm like, all right, if you want to do that, I don't know why you can't just put it on normally, but they had some sort of special platform. And I said, well, if you do that, you've got to put the Star Wars one up as well. So now, nice. I don't even know if Star Wars is big in India or not, but if you're on the GeoSavan platform, hi, thanks for listening. Tell me if Star Wars is big in India. Gotta get that India market.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, buddy. Look at you making moves with the Peppa Pig podcast.
Oh, yeah, just riding the tails on that. Awesome, man. Thank you for coming on. We'll get you on again soon, and hopefully we'll see you guys in person at Celebration whenever that will be.
I'm sure we'll be there whenever it is, because we already have our full trip booked. So
yes, me too. I haven't cancelled anything yet. I'm just hoping I can postpone it for a year, or hopefully we'll be allowed out of the country. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that they would have to, like, if you call up the airline and say, look, I don't want to cancel my flight. I just need to change it for a year from then or whenever it ends up being. Like, I'm hoping they're going to be cool about it because, by the way, I got bullied by Jessie into buying our tickets a week before the coronavirus stuff. She was like, we got to buy tickets. And I said, I don't know. Still feels like a little bit early. I bet you we could get a better deal. And she's like, nope. I'm looking at these deals right now, and they'll never get better than this. So I bought them. And then a week later, it's like, I don't think Star Wars Celebration's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah, it's just going to be different. It's going to be behind plastic glass or something. I don't know.
Oh, man. You know, I don't know if you've thought about the big Star Wars spelt out merch for Celebration. Bubble suits.
Oh, God.
Hazmat suits.
Yeah, when Cruiser was on, we were talking face masks and stuff like that. But, I don't know. I'll think of something, but I just want it to happen. I just want it to happen.
I'll just say this. There might be some Blue Harvest face masks for sale real soon.
Awesome.
If you've ever wanted the bottom half of your face to look like Ki-Adi-Mundi or a raccoon or any of the dumb stuff we talk about, I think it's going to be available real soon.
Awesome. Keep an eye out for that. Great. Well, thanks a lot, dude. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, buddy.
Catch you later.